Suffering is a natural, inescapable part of life. Without life's impermanence, all things would lose their value to us. With that in mind, to understand why women crave strong men, we must first zoom out to observe more abstract concepts such as the universal nature of suffering, as well as the principle of supply and demand. For the sake of thought experimentation, treat the desire as a symptom rather than a source of itself. Suffering is the cost of life in a world governed by entropy, time, and death. Entropy is a measure of disorder or randomness in a system, reflecting the natural tendency of all things to move from order to chaos over time. In physics, entropy describes how energy becomes increasingly dispersed and less available for doing useful work, explaining why structures decay, why heat spreads, and why time seems to flow in one direction. In metaphysics, spirituality, or philosophy, however, entropy represents the unavoidable decline woven into life itself, the fading of beauty, the erosion of certainty, the dissolution of all things not actively sustained, as well as the chaotic, unavoidable, and unpredictable nature of fate. In that respect, when meditating upon why women crave strong men, we must first observe a woman as she is within this chaotic, uncontrollable world in which suffering is inescapable and her time is fleeting. Whatsoever a woman can control while wrapped within the thralls of entropy, she needs a strong man for whatever she cannot. As she is not a boundless, omnipotent goddess, but a limited human being like any other, she has weaknesses and shortcomings tied to her mortality. These weaknesses and shortcomings intrinsically create a void in her life. Now, that void doesn't have to be filled with a strong man. It can be filled with any manner of distraction or numbing agent, any serum or substitute to dull reality's sting and lighten its weight. However, a woman who is self-aware, humble, and comfortable enough in her own skin to admit her own vulnerabilities to at least herself knows that anything other than genuine masculine presence is illusory. Anything but is toxic, processed fast food that will shorten her life, not lengthen it. And I do mean this literally because stress shortens one's life overall. And there are plenty of meta-analytical studies that prove this. She instinctively understands where and how there's a need for a kind of strength that complements her own while enduring the forces of life's entropy. Now, we're on the nature of feminine surrender. The word surrender tends to draw ire from the traumatized. However, there are different connotations to this word. When I use the word surrender, I mean a state of deep trust and potent relaxation, a woman's ability to breathe easily while relinquishing her mental inhibitions as she transcends into a state of healing, recovery, and flow. The kind of surrender I refer to is not one of weak submission to tyrannical dominance, but a return to an ancient state of feminine harmony, a mode of being in which control is no longer a necessity for survival. A state of mind in which she feels truly safe, seen, and able to depend on a man who's got all relevant antagonistic forces handled, both physical, financial, and emotional dangers. With that said, many women aren't even aware of it, but without such a masculine presence in her life, she has no choice but to remain in a constant and chronic state of energy burn. Entropy is constantly seeking her doom from all angles, both seen and unseen, known and unknown. Thus, what burns her energy are her shields she feels compelled to keep raised high, even in her sleep. In order for a woman to surrender in this way, something must first convince her that the world will not devour her the moment she lets her guard down. That something is the masculine strength, not in the form of loud assertion or superficial bravado, but in the quiet, immovable presence of a man who does not flinch when she cries, does not retreat when she expresses chaos, and does not exploit her softness for gain. His strength is not what silences her, but what allows her to finally speak. It is what permits her nervous system to downshift from fight or flight into a sacred state almost long forgotten, peace. In a world of chaos, a woman seeks peace. Her inner turbulence merely a reflection of life's entropy as, deep down, she yearns for order. And a weak man cannot bring order in a dangerous world ever out to destroy her. A strong man enables a woman to achieve peak mortality, as any moment may be her last. He empowers her into a state of surrender, femininity so beautiful that even the gods, jaded and ugly as bereft of life's gifts of impermanence, would envy. I've experimented over the years to find a content production method that is both authentic and sustainable. And sustainable is the key word because I can theoretically go out into the wilderness whenever I wish and speak authentically in my own voice from my own experiences. However, I cannot reasonably sustain such efforts at scale due to the natural weaknesses of my personality, as well as having to manage my responsibilities and priorities as a husband and father. Now, don't get me wrong, every once in a while I can film from the mountains and forests, and every once in a while I still will. Just simply in order to create content in an energy efficient and sustainable way, I have chosen the middle ground. Podcasting from home or audiobooking articles that I've published to my Substack account that I recommend you subscribe to. With that said, I have relaunched my Substack account, and on it I'll be covering a broad range of topics from masculinity and cultivating healthy romantic relationships to even controversial topics like race and politics. If you'd like to become a part of that community, then you should follow me on Substack. Most of the articles I'll publish will include an audio or even a video version just like this one that I will cross-post to YouTube. If you'd like to become a part of that community, then you should follow me on Substack. Most of the articles that I'll be publishing on there from here on out will include an audio or even a video version just like this one that I will cross-post to YouTube. With that said, thank you very much for your time and attention, and I look forward to seeing you in the comments.